Hey, my name is Amanda, and I am the owner of Farrell's Frame and Design. Here we are. When you come into the 519 building, this is the entryway. We've got a nice complimentary business over here, Twiggs Lamp Shop. We come in the door, and we are the first ones. We are a custom frame shop. We also offer fine art printing, reproductions. We do all kinds of stuff, really. People ask us to do all kinds of things, unframe related, constantly. As you can see, we are not the tidiest, but that's because we're busy. We stay busy. We have been busy since we opened. The coolest local artists. We work with some fantastic artists out of Atlanta. They drive all the way up here. It's about an hour-and-a-half trip to see us. Lisa Moore, this artist, she just dropped off like 48 pieces for us to do for a show. This artist over here, Jess Milner, remember his name? He's gonna be famous one day. Yeah, so this is our showroom. We have tons and tons and tons of options of frames, of mats, of designs. We've got some samples up here that we have done. You've seen our showroom. So now we're gonna go to our workshop. So these are all pending orders right now that we are in production. As you can see, we've got 3 work tables. We've got a big work table. Working on some jerseys, some prints, lots and lots of artwork. We're cleaning this up for a fella. We've got our glass over here, our foam supplies. This is where we cut the glass. This is where most of the frames are put together. Like in our grant application, I said, you know, we need some more desks. I don't know if you can tell. We're kind of out of space in here. We would love to be able to buy a couple more of these. Some new tools. We've had these for a long time. We make them work. They work hard. In here, we have our printing area. All of these are chock full of artwork waiting to be framed. We've got our greeting card and small print printer. We've got our scanner where we scan the artwork, and we've got our big printer here. This is where we do giclée printing, digital restoration, Photoshop, all that kind of jazz. And then, if you walk across the hall here, this over here is our wood shop. This is where we keep all of the inventory of our frame molding. Giant sticks here. And this is the fun area of our workshop. We've got our saw, we've got our underpinner, we've got our work tables, we've got our backup underpinner in case the power goes out. You know, you can't rely on electronics for everything. But yeah, we could use some upgrades over here too. Our air compressor, that little porter over there, rocks our earbuds at least 75 times a day. Us and our neighbors would be very appreciative of a silent air compressor. We need some new saw blades, real bad. We just got that big boy repaired. It was like $600 to get him repaired, but worth it. A dust collection system would level us up big time. And yeah, this looks like a lot of inventory, but our inventory has been dwindling over the years. We've been allocating funds to the absolute essentials, and it would be nice to stock back up for sure. In this video, I've already told you we're busy. We stay busy. We run from the moment we get here until the moment we leave every day, which is a great thing. We've had a great business experience. We've been in business for 10 years coming up in November. So that's a huge accomplishment for any small business owner. My story is a roller coaster. And for a long time, I was ashamed of our story. But here recently, I have felt very empowered to share our story very empowered to try to help people with our story. And so I want to share my story with you. When I was, 18, I was working for mom and pop shops in Atlanta, in Marietta, and I was learning the trade. I was so lucky I got trained by what is called a master picture framer. There's not that many of them in our industry. They're the best of the best. So I got to train under Jim, master picture framer. And in 2009, when the first recession hit, the mom and pop shops pretty much went out of business. Our industry dwindled so much. It was so sad. And I found myself without a job. So I went into the more corporate world of framing. I went to Michael's. I framed there for a little while. Wasn't what I was trained to do. You know, I wanted to be more hands-on. I wanted to do the woodworking. I wanted to do more challenging pieces. I wanted to be around collectors and, you know, not what you see at Michael's. So I moved on to still corporate, but more alternative, like Dick Blick in Atlanta. And I worked for Dick Blick in Atlanta for a long time. And from Dick Blick, I was asked to move to Sam Flax by the owner. Sam Flax was struggling in their framing department. I came in, helped flip things around. And that was kind of my thing. I got sent to places where people weren't doing great. The frame shops weren't doing great. So I helped them flip it. Started to make profit. Started to have turnover. It was great. Well, while I was working at Sam Flax, a representative from one of our framing vendors approached me and said, "Hey, don't you live North Georgia?" And I said, "Yeah, I do. I drive all the way up here for work every day." And he said, "Have you ever been to Rome?" And I said, "Well, no, but actually my husband just got stationed there. He was an Air Force recruiter. He just got stationed in Rome. So we're about to go that way." And he said, "Well, the longstanding frame shop in Rome, Georgia is closing. She's retiring and there's no one to fill her shoes. There are a couple mom and pop shops in Rome. They can't do the quantity. They can't keep up with the demand that Rome has for framing. Would you be interested in possibly opening a frame shop?" I was kind of taken aback, and I was like, you know, I've always wanted to open a frame shop. I'm really good at running a frame shop. I've been the flipper for years. Why not? Let's do it. So I went home and I told my husband, "Hey, we're going to open a frame shop." And he said, "I don't think we're going to open a frame shop." I said, "Oh yeah, we're going to open a frame shop." So that vendor helped me find a building. We got connected with the Chamber of Commerce in Rome, and we took 2 small loans out and we jumped in. And we incorporated in November of 2015, and we opened for our first day of business on my birthday, February 19th of 2016. So it was all really fast. We opened within 5.5 months of this representative approaching me and saying, "Hey, do you want to own a frame shop?" So can I go all in? Absolutely. I can go all in. I can bet on myself. I'm confident in my decision-making skills. So I was young when I opened the frame shop, and I am a damn good framer. I'm so good at my job. I have people who come here from Atlanta, from Tennessee, from Alabama, from New York, from Canada, Montana, all over the place, because we are super talented. We're trained under conservation and preservation standards. We know how to handle high value artwork. We know how to handle priceless things. Like we just framed some amphora handles. I'll show you a picture of them. They're super cool. We had to come up with an innovative way to frame these that you could see the front, you could see the back, you could see everything with no adhesive, no glue, no nothing. They're held in there by gravity. And you know what? I figured that out because I like playing high stakes. I like challenges. I enjoy the game that we play here every single day. But back to the young. I was young when I opened. I was a good framer then. I'm a better framer now. But I was about 2 years into my business when I had the shocking realization, I have no idea what I'm doing. I know how to frame everything. I have no idea how to run a business. So I had to backtrack. And I spent the next 2 years going to every seminar, going to every class, going to every chamber function, going to every, we have a trade show it's normally in Las Vegas. It's in Orlando this year. We have a trade show. I went to all the classes at the trade show. I talked to everyone I could talk to. I talked to the Small Business Development Center here in Rome. I called on older business owners for advice, and I taught myself how to be a better business owner. And I am so glad that I took that chance. I am so glad that I could take a step back from my comfort zone and jump into something that I am completely uncomfortable with, because the next chapter of our business story required it. It required strategic planning. It required pivoting. It required resilience to the highest regard. And I'm about to tell you why. In 2019, we were 5 years into our business. I decided that we needed to acquire the building next door to us because our operation was outgrowing our space. And in doing so, we decided we were going to open an artist gallery as well. Well, we took out a business loan, $20,000, and I renovated the building next door. Cut some walls open, created a door. It was beautiful in there. And we opened for business on that side, had some super successful art classes, sold out art classes. We had gallery openings. We were doing that. We were doing the framing, and it was awesome. Well, all of a sudden, our building started having some leaks and some creaks and some cracking, and we rented it, so it wasn't ours. It was our landlord's. So we approached our landlord and said, hey, there's something wrong. There's something going on in the building. And he basically wanted us to close up shop for 3 months and pretend like we were renovating so that he could fix it under the books, band-aid the problems, and not actually solve anything. So I shouldn't have done this, but again, risk taker. I hired a inspector to come inspect the building because I wanted to know what I was in. I wanted to know if I was safe. I wanted to know if my customers were safe. I wanted to know what I was up against. What I was up against was a building that was 2 steps away from being condemned. In Rome, Georgia, in 1902, they built up Broad Street an entire level, which means all of the buildings on Broad Street are built on top of the old buildings that used to be here. And they did this because of flooding. Now, a lot of the buildings have beautiful underground buildings. They're well kept. They do haunted Halloween tours. You can go down there. There are even preserved cars from the 1800s. It's really awesome. In the building we were in, it's where they keep the bodies. So the inspector went down there and he basically told us, you have live wire everywhere. The only thing holding this building up are some cinder blocks that are stacked on top of the support bars holding everything up. And as it sits right now, your floor has fallen in about 12 feet and there's nothing to catch it. And so I hired a lawyer and I said, I want out. I want out of here. And my landlord was not the greatest of people, but after I hired the lawyer, he let us out without having to buy us out of the lease because I had just signed another 5-year lease. I had just dumped $20,000 into renovating the other side of this building. And so we were given 30 days to move, to find a new place, to do everything. Well, we looked and we looked and we looked and we looked and we couldn't find anything on Broad Street. And I really wanted to be in our downtown. That's kind of part of who we are. We're a downtown business. So at 10 o'clock at night, like 3 days before our deadline, my realtor called me and said, you have to come to this place right now. Someone else is interested in it. It's not perfect, but it's doable. Come see if you like it. So I did. 10 o'clock at night, I came by and it's beautiful. I was like, yes, let's do it. Sign the lease right now, 10 o'clock at night. So we did. That was my happy dance. That's the dance I did the first time we were in this building. Well, I was happy that we found a building. What you didn't see in my happy dance is that between the lawyer's fees, between the rent that we were required to pay here before moving in, to shut off all the utilities in the other place, to hire the movers for the other place, all of the expenses associated with moving, plus fighting that guy to get us out of the lease. I had $26 in my business bank account, and I'm starting over. Unfortunately, also during that time, my 2 employees mentally did not have the capacity to handle the stress that we were under to move. So I lost both of my long-term employees. They had been with me for 5 years, and they jumped ship. And to a person who does not believe in themselves, to a person that does not believe in being able to work back up, I understand why. Me? No. We're not done here. We're not done here. So I didn't end. I opened by myself. I opened back that October. I took 1 month off to move, open shop, and that was the busiest October we've ever had. Our customers rallied behind us because they wanted us to stay on Broad Street. They wanted us to stay here. It was amazing. And that's what I was counting on. I was counting on, I have the talent. We have the reputation. We have it. It'll come. If you build it, it will come, right? So that's what we did. And it was going great. So fast forward a couple months actually on January 1st. On January 1st, I discovered I was pregnant. Not to do with the business, but it's taken my husband and I over 10 years to get pregnant. So I was super excited. However, in business, I'm here alone. I haven't hired anyone else. I'm in a new place. Things are crazy. I got to come up with a plan. I didn't have to come up with a plan. The plan walked through my door. Her name's Virginia. She still works here today. She said, "Hey, I came to your old place and you had all these employees and you don't seem to have anyone here. Do you need help?" I worked at a frame shop for 20 years. I'm like, "Yes, you're hired. I don't know how I'm going to pay you, but you're hired." So you know what I did? Figured it out. I figured out how we could make more money by speeding up production, how we could make more money by cutting costs elsewhere. And she's been here for almost 6 years now. So it worked. We took a gamble and it worked. So fast forward 3 months from that news, COVID-19 hits. I have a high-risk pregnancy. My 2 employees are both immunocompromised. They both have autoimmune diseases. So we're like, what are we going to do? We have to be super careful. We need to pivot. So we figured out how to do online consultations. We figured out how to do one-on-one appointments. We figured out how to do design via text. And we did everything we could to make sure that our business stayed viable during that time. And during COVID-19, we were successful. We were busy. We stayed busy. We had to work behind the scenes. We had to stay away from people, but we made it work and we made it through. And when things finally started to reopen and things started to, become safer, I had to have an emergency C-section. I got really sick for several months, and Virginia and Candace had to steer the ship. And, a business owner is nothing if they can't count on their team. And by gosh, I've got some good cards in my deck. They're fantastic. They kept the ship going. I was able to get the help I needed, get back, and start over again. Just when things were starting to get normal again, Virginia's mother fell ill. She had metastatic breast cancer as well as dementia. And Virginia's our manager. She's a huge part of our team. I'm like 3.5 people. She's like 3.5 people. And Candace is the Energizer Bunny. Basically, that's how we roll. And Virginia was the caretaker. She had to be. And we had to let her, We supported her through it. And she took almost a year off. And she would come in sporadically to help. But me and Candace had to steer the ship for a while. And, we did great for 2 people. We would have done better at 3 people, but it was just the way it was. So we kept going. And then during Virginia's caretaking days, my grandmother fell ill, and me and my mom were the caretakers. My grandmother had a very rare form of cancer, and it was terrible in hospice. And so for about another 6 months, Virginia and I took turns being the one here while we helped our family. And Virginia's mom and my grandmother passed away within 1 week of each other. And we took as much time as we could to grieve, but we had to get back to business. And so we did. And we were both sad and tired, and we had to put that aside and pick ourselves up by the bootstraps, basically, and keep on going. Well, about 3 weeks later, I get a phone call that says my dad has been in a terrible motorcycle accident. And this was at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I did not really know what to expect. I couldn't get a hold of anybody at the hospitals. You know, my stepmother didn't have the information that we needed, and I am his power of attorney. I'm the one listed to make medical decisions. So I left to go to West Virginia. And when I got there, my dad had gone head on with a deer at 65 miles an hour. And the bike didn't hit the deer. My dad hit the deer. And he broke pretty much everything. He had several skull fractures. He got impaled in the eye by an antler. He broke his arm. He broke both parts of his arm, lower and upper. He broke ribs. He broke his leg. He lost 97% of his blood before they got him life-flighted to the hospital. So, needless to say, I was there for quite a while. He went through 19 surgeries, and I was there with him while he was doing that. And again, Virginia and Candace were running the ship. And he made it. You know, it's a year in August from his accident, and I don't know how he's still here with us. He tells me it's a walker thing. That's what I am. I'm a walker. Walkers don't try, we do. We don't sit down, we just move forward. And, you know, he's not wrong. That's how I live my life too. We move forward. We come up with a plan. And so I got back from dealing with my dad, and Candace's grandmother falls ill. And Candace is the caretaker for her grandmother. And she starts the process that Virginia and I just went through. And so Virginia and I are steering the ship. This is a lot of personal information, and I realize that. But we're a small business. We have 3 people. And when you take away 2 of those hands, you know, that's a big thing. It's a lot. And we've finally gotten to a point where all 3 of us have been here for about a month, and all 3 of us have been able to concentrate on production, concentrate on our skills, you know, leave our weaknesses to one of the stronger people in our company. And it feels like we're finally pulling ourselves up by the bootstraps and moving forward again, which again is just what we gotta do. And lastly, but definitely not least, in the midst of all of that, our small business insurance company, they audited us, wrongly audited us 5 times. And they took from our small business $11,000 without permission or cause. And I had to fight to get it back. And I also had to fight to keep our doors open. I had to fight to keep our bills paid. I had to do everything in my power to grab every penny possible and not let us falter because of somebody else's mistake. They finally admitted their mistake and they gave us our money back, but by the time they gave us our money back, we were in financial turmoil because the only thing I could do to keep our business open was take a short-term loan. And I was not familiar with what an MCA is. And after I took it, and after I got it paid off, I've had several people call me and tell me like, hey, most of the people who take that kind of loan go bankrupt. We didn't. We paid it off. It was a struggle. We had to strategically plan our every single move, but we got it paid off. Again, we picked ourselves up. We followed our plan. We made it. We've made it. We've made it 5 years in complete and utter chaos. And most of it was absolutely no fault of our own. And that's a story worth telling, because a lot of people fold for one of those reasons. We didn't fold for any of them. We just kept on going. And you know what? We kept on going with a smile. It's just the way we are as people. And I believe in myself. I believe in Virginia. I believe in Candace. I believe in our company. I'd do anything to keep our doors open. I'd do anything to keep us moving. And does it mean that I have every single move planned out to a T? No, it does not. Sometimes I fly by the seat of my pants. I pivot. I make on-the-spot decisions. I lead with my heart. I lead with my gut. I can have an interaction with a customer and feel how it's going to go. You know, there are times when I don't know how we're going to pay the bills that we need to pay tomorrow. But then I get to interact with a couple people and I'm like, this is how we're going to do it, you know? And that's a skill that not everybody has. It would be so nice to be able to swap focus from surviving to just operating. We have the talent. We have the space. We have the clients. We have the reputation. We have the longevity. What we have currently is a bunch of bills that I have to pay back on top of the bills that I have to pay every month. And that leaves me nothing for cash flow. That leaves me nothing for expenses. That leaves me nothing for machinery. That leaves me nothing to decorate our building with. And it's time. It's time to rebrand. It is time for us to take a step out of survival mode and go into being the best, because that's what we are. And so many people know it. And I'm not trying to brag on ourselves. We really are. During all of that 5 years, when we were going through complete and utter chaos, we have won Best of Rome every single year. We have gone through Leadership Rome. We have been named the Emerging Small Business of the Year. We have won Best of Georgia. We have been nominated into the Who's Who. We have gone through the Exceptional Seven, which are the exceptional 7 people under 40 that operates in Rome. I've been named the Young Professional of the Year. We just won this year. Where is my little plaque here? We just won Small Business of the Year. So yeah, we're going through some business struggles. But with the right backing, with the right moves, with the right assistance, we could be soaring. And on your website, I just got an email that says 15 days and everything could change. I'm ready. Bring me out there. I will learn everything I need to learn. I will absorb. I will listen. And if I win, I'll change everything. And I'm ready. So thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the confidence. When I first opened the shop in 2015, and I wrote my very first business plan to take to the Small Business Development Center, I proposed that we would do 150 frames a year. Let me show you this report. Put my money where my mouth is. As of today, that is 12,220.1 projects since 2015. Please take into consideration that doesn't include quantities. That's just the work order written. Some of these have a quantity of 200. So We have done 12,220.1 work orders in 10 years with 6 hands. In all of these examples that we're showing you, what a lot of people don't realize is that these are not only designed by us, they're also handmade by us. As you saw in the workshop, we get our wood in about 9 to 11 foot sticks. We cut them on the saw, we file them, we color them, we glue them, we underpin them. Then we take them to the production phase where we cut the mats, we cut the foam, we cut the glass or the acrylic, we do the mounting techniques, and that ranges from so many options. It could be we could use linen tape. It could be that we use photo corners. It could be that we use a sink mount. It could be that we sit there and sew for hours. It just depends on the project. So in all of these, you're seeing hours and hours and hours of our hand work. On a simple frame from start to finish, each project takes between an hour to an hour and a half. For the more complex things like the shadow boxes or the textiles, they could take 2 days, they could take 3 days. So yeah, this is literally years worth of work that you're seeing, and it's just a fraction of all we've accomplished. Take a bet on me. I bet on myself every day. So far, I win.